This is something I did not put much thought into, but since my ex expressed her outrage, perhaps the internet can judge this. Without too much context, my ex left me and our daughter Jo, not real name, many years ago, and I have been raising her all by myself these years. She is 27 now, still living with me, and works in a cafe nearby. Jo, while having the intelligence of a normal person, aced in chemistry back in school, has the emotional maturity of a child. It does not take much for her to get upset or become happy. She loves praises and hugs, dislikes strangers, but warms up to them easily. She gets awkward talking to adults and loves playing with children, but would also pick fights and throw tantrums despite being 3 times their age. I can give more examples, but I hope you get the idea. Me and Jo split the house chores and take turns cooking for each other. We would also do goodbye hug and goodnight kiss on the cheek every day when we leave for work or go to sleep, separate rooms, to be clear. I would praise Jo if she has done her part of the chores properly as she likes praises, and also buy her snacks from time to time. I have not defined another partner after my ex because Jo would certainly be upset, and I have gotten used to staying this way. Jo has been single too, as far as I know, and has shown no intention of moving out, which I am fine with it. There have only ever been 2 of us in the house after ex moved. My ex, whose private life is not mine to share, paid us a visit some time ago, a long time and many years, for an update on Jo. She was absolutely disgusted of our lifestyle. She said we were living like a couple, which is not supposed to be. We are father and daughter, for Christ's sake. She demanded that we seek therapy and have Jo move out so that she can be independent and have her own life. Jo, in turn, screamed at her birth mother and kicked her out of the house. I have nothing on my conscience as we never ever did anything questionable or vile. Therapy? We are both happy adults enjoying our lives. Has Jo moved out? If she wants, I won't stop her, but if she's happy here, then she can stay as long as she likes. I do think I am not an idiot who ruined my daughter's life with this unhealthy relationship, but I shall leave you to judge. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. Your responses to therapy are really alarming. Therapy isn't just for broken people. It's for everyone, and it's not a bad thing to see a therapist. It shows you're taking responsibility for yourself. And even if it's only for people who have something wrong with them, as you said, I'm sorry, but your daughter still qualifies. A 27-year with the emotional maturity of a child is not normal. And most likely it's preventing her from making meaningful relationships. Although I'm worried with your attitude towards all of this, even if she managed to get herself to a therapist, you would tell her it's for bad people and continue to tear down any progress she makes. Not the idiot. When I read this post, I thought that you sounded like a wonderful mother, and when I realized you were the father, that didn't change anything. I would, however, encourage you to take her to a psychologist and get a proper diagnosis. If she gets a diagnosis, that opens a lot of doors for different kinds of help for your daughter. I attend a special center for people with mental and physical disabilities, and you act like a lot of the parents, very doting and caring. She could take classes and attend programs and activities. If she were to be diagnosed, she would have many options and would be able to meet new friends. You're the idiot. Having the emotional maturity of a child as an adult isn't kosher. Either there's something up with Jo developmentally that you should have addressed a long time ago, so you're the idiot, or she's a normal adult being allowed to act the way she acts, which is going to blow up in her face as soon as you aren't around as a fallback. The point of a parent is to set your kid up to live without you. You haven't given Jo the tools to do that, nor does it seem like you intend to. I, 21, am temporarily staying with my mom, stepdad, and siblings. There's my full brother, 16, my half-brother, 18 months, my step-brother, 19, and step-sister, 17. None of us have ever gotten on with our steps, and I'm only staying with them now because I couldn't stay with my flatmate, a nurse, my dad, high risk, or my boyfriend, roommate problem. Mom lost her job due to current events, and stepdad has been furloughed, so they asked me and my stepbrother to pay them rent to help cover expenses. They own the house, so this is bills and food, and we agreed to each pay £400 a month. All my siblings are here full-time as my step-siblings' biomom is high risk. My stuff in my room keeps going missing, being moved by people who aren't me. I have proof it was my step-relatives, though they claim innocence. There's also been a knocking issue which 3 days ago resulted in my stepsister walking in on a video call with my boyfriend, which was both embarrassing and a mood killer. After that last thing I ordered a lock online, and yesterday I fit the lock on my door. My stepdad tried to stop me, saying it's his house, and he's not allowing anyone to have locks on their door. I was a little childish, as I had my headphones on, so I just gestured to my headphones and pretended I couldn't hear him until he got frustrated and left, and I kept on fixing the lock on the door. I offered him and Mum the spare key as a peace offering, but said I'd be keeping the lock for the issues described in the previous paragraph, which led to an argument about trust. The day I had several calls with clients in the office, bottom floor of the house, well my room is the top floor, and told everyone I'd be in there for about 8 hours. I came out of the office at the end of my workday, went up to my room to get changed, and my door is fully gone. I asked what the hell happened, and my stepdad said the door was in his and Mum's room, and the hinges were in the wheelie bin, and that'll teach me to disrespect him. I can't get the hinges out of the bin, and I can't get the door back upstairs on my own. Due to the layout of my room, there is no longer any privacy, unless I do everything, including getting changed, under the bed covers. I am writing this from the office. I will be sleeping on the sofa in here tonight because at least the office has a door. I have not paid rent for June yet. I complained to my boyfriend about the situation, and he said to just come to his tomorrow and he'd sort out the roommate. I've packed my stuff up and put it all in my car, with the intention of leaving this morning and calling after I've arrived to tell people where I am. My brother caught me moving stuff and I had to tell him. He then called me an arsehole because I wouldn't be helping out for June or giving them time to sort themselves out, and this is my only hesitation as I do feel bad about this part. Would I be the idiot for leaving, not paying rent? Not the idiot. At this point, your stepfather is your landlord, and he doesn't get a full day in the happenings inside his house. You're paying for a room, and you decided to put a lock on the door to that room. Technically, I believe that is illegal and a breach of privacy, though I'd check with the local laws. Honestly, if I were you, I think I would have already left without paying rent. If anything happens, call the police, tell them you want to get your things out of the house and would feel safer with their presence. Not the idiot. If he wants to sue you for June rent, then he has to admit that you are a legal tenant and he took your door, which wouldn't be legally kosher. At the most, you will have to offer up a 30-day notice, demand a prorated rent for June, if that happens in small claims. They will have part of this month, and most of the month of June, to make themselves whole, by finding a new tenant. It doesn't matter if they won't, because they won't be able to find a non-family member who will tolerate not having a door. Not the idiot. A little surprised no one here is commenting on the love undertones here. You have someone walk in on a private moment between you and your boyfriend, and a couple days later you're not allowed to even have the privacy to change clothes without everyone seeing you naked. A stepfather preventing his 21-year-old stepdaughter from being able to change clothes privately is all the creepy. Plus everything the other posters said, you're paying rent, this wouldn't even be right to do to a 10-year-old, etc. OP, get out as soon as possible. I, 36, went through an incredibly hard time losing my baby while I was 5 months pregnant with him. This has affected me both physically and emotionally. I don't have kids, and my husband and I have been struggling for a long time trying to have kids. My sister has been supportive of me, she's 7 years younger than me and has been married to her husband for 2 years now. She visited me several times to see how I was doing. Her husband, however, seems to have an issue with me personally. He's always been treating me poorly and acting like he's somehow superior to me and my husband. My husband doesn't see my family much, so this wasn't an issue, especially when my brother-in-law comes over. My husband and I were invited to Thanksgiving dinner at my mom's house. We got there a bit late because I was taking care of some tests at the hospital that needed to be done so that my doctor could see them the next day. We sat at the table, my aunt was present, she lives alone, so she always visits, and casually talked about several things. I noticed my sister and my brother-in-law were whispering something to each other, and at some point, I heard my sister tell her husband to knock it off. We were confused, we had no idea what was going. Next thing I knew, my brother-in-law got up from his seat and announced that they were expecting. I looked at my husband and he was shocked, but not because of the news, but the way it was given. My sister hid her face in her hands and did nothing else except that. It took me time to process this while my aunt got up and started hugging and congratulating my sister. I don't know what suddenly happened to me, my heart started pounding, and my husband was already gone to the bathroom to wash up. I just gathered my things and took my purse, then told them to finish their dinner, then I walked out. My sister was sitting there the entire time and just watched me and my husband walk out while my mom was trying to convince me to stay for a little longer. I felt absolutely horrible. I only lost my baby 2 weeks ago, and for me to be taken off guard like that is just horrible. I got no calls nor texts from my sister wanting to talk, nothing, but my aunt called me to tell me what I did was totally inappropriate and that I should have stayed, and congratulated my sister and her husband. Even berated my husband for not reacting differently. I argued with her that my brother-in-law did it purposely and that he could have picked a better time, but instead chose to spite me and my husband while still grieving our baby. My aunt still thinks I should have acted in an adult way and not walked out on dinner like that. Not the idiot. A 5-month miscarriage is on the edge of being classified as a stillbirth. It might have been post the viability point. You are grieving, and that grief deserves respect and compassion. Block your aunt. Don't talk to her anymore. Put your sister and brother on do not disturb and don't talk to them. I know you didn't ask for advice, but I've found therapy with a therapist who specializes in pregnancy and infant loss helpful. Resolve.org has a good list. I'm so sorry for your loss. No idiots here. I understand why it hurt your feelings, but realistically, it would hurt your, no matter when she announced it. To say her pregnancy wouldn't have hurt if she had announced it later, or if she had spoken to you first, or if it wasn't a family holiday is just nitpicking a reason to transfer your pain. It's going to be impossible for you to be happy for her, which is so understandable, but don't rob your sister of the joyous moments of her first pregnancy either. Find a support group and distance yourself from her just for a little while until you feel better. No idiots here, but I do feel like your sister is more of the victim than you, OP. Her amazing news is shadowed by your personal tragedy, and although she has been there for you in your time of need, putting stress on herself during the vital first trimester of pregnancy, assuming she's been pregnant for a while, as most people don't announce until at least the 12-week period, she was afraid to share this good news with you. Perhaps this is why brother-in-law has a problem with you. I am 30 and my wife is 26, and if I am honest, I adore my wife, but I absolutely hate her family. Her mom is a know-it-all who thinks everything is her business. Her sisters are snobs who criticize everything despite being anything but successful themselves. Their kids are spoiled brats. Her dad is just a broken man who seems to have given up decades ago, and the rest of her extended family is pretty much like the rest. Somehow and in some way my wife got all the good genes and ended up being an extremely sweet, beautiful, caring, empathetic woman. Well, yesterday my wife decided to surprise me. She prepared a really romantic meal, wine, candles, the whole shebang for my shabby back after I got home from work, and she told me we were going on a 3-week-long vacation to a secluded cabin in a great hiking area of my country, given I had to take up my vacation weeks anyway. I was honestly pretty damn excited. I love hiking. I grew up in a small town with loads of nature and used to hike pretty much daily. I love cabins, and honestly, I really needed a break cause my job has been extremely stressful. Shortly after, she revealed with the biggest smile that it would be a huge family vacation with her mom, her dad, her sisters, their kids, and a cousin and her kids, and honestly my heart just dropped. Trust me, I do my absolute best to stand these people when I see them for the sake of my wife and act as the perfect son-in-law, but the idea of spending my only vacation days in a cabin with these absolutely horrible people is just a full-on no for me. I'd rather stay at home doing jack crap for 3 weeks. I have been with them on a vacation once and the entire time it was just them arguing, complaining and us being forced to take care of her sister's hellspan half the time. I straight up said that I was not going to do that again and that she was free to go, but I am not going. She started crying and seemed extremely upset I reacted the way I did, despite never hiding how I feel about her family. We ended up arguing a whole bunch, and she ended up leaving to stay with her best friend who lives down the street. Am I being an idiot here? I sure feel bad, but I also feel like this is just legitimately crapping the few weeks a year I get off, and I honestly just want to have some peace and quiet. Just to be clear, she wants to leave the day after tomorrow. Not the idiot. Dude. A 3-week vacation with anyone is tough after a bit. I can't imagine doing it with family, people I don't like, and other people's children. That's nightmare type crap. You know what's happening here, right? Basically, knowing that you would hate this idea, your wife is attempting to manipulate you into saying yes with all the theatrics. Like, she's trying extremely hard to manipulate you. Something tells me this is not an isolated incident. I don't know, man, couples therapy wouldn't be a bad idea. Not the idiot. From the way you tell it, it sounds like she knew you wouldn't be happy. The meal, the good news, and then bring up the bad news. She should have discussed this with you as a partner, not tried to trick you. Maybe suggested 1 week with them and then 2 weeks just the two of you somewhere else as a compromise. How well does she get on with her family? Maybe she thought she is obliged to attend and wanted you to be there to make it bearable for her. But it's still the wrong way to go about it. Not the idiot. A 3-week vacation is something you discuss before finalizing plans. That's nearly a month and needs preparation for. Aside from that, if you don't get on well with the in-laws, that's like a punishment, locked in a cabin with people you hate for weeks on end. The surprise was super messed up and seems like she just wanted to corner you into not being able to say no without looking like a jerk, because I'm sure the whole rest of her family thinks you're all going. When I was 15, I was in a car accident. I was riding my bike on new bike lanes that my city had installed and a car hit me. I ended up having to go to the hospital, nothing major. The car was turning onto the main road when it hit me, so it was going well below the speed limit. But since it was a car accident, I was forced into the ambulance and shipped off to the hospital to get x-rays. Since I was a minor, I wasn't allowed to be released from the hospital without my family coming to pick me up. I didn't have a cell phone at the time, so I called my home phone with a hospital phone, no answer. The nurse told me they'll try to contact them while I go in to get examined. Not too serious, since I'm still alive, but my leg was broken and I still kinda walk weird. When walking, my right leg footprints are straight, while my left foot is angled 30 degrees outward. When all that was done, they said they were still unable to get a hold of anyone from my family. 8 hours later, and who knows how many calls, the cop who showed up to the scene came back to the hospital and I was still there, so he ended up driving me back home. When I got to my house, I opened the door, and my mom instantly freaks out when she saw the cop and started yelling at me, asking what the hell I did. The cop explained the situation and started asking Mom why no one picked up the phone. We didn't recognize the number. It's been over a decade since then, and I was on a Zoom call with the family, and that incident was brought up. Wasn't even me who brought it up, and I simply said haha, that's why I never used any of you as an emergency contact. Well, they blew up. Mom started crying, since I guess she still felt guilty about it, and hung up. My siblings started saying things like, Jesus, that was over a decade ago, you need to let it go, apologize to Mom. She didn't know. She would have come to pick you up if she had known. Even the friends I was with told me they went knocking on my door to tell fam what happened, and my mom opened the door, and before they were even able to say anything, my mom says, "My name isn't here right now," and closed the door. Truth be told, I still kinda resented that time. Every winter I would look down at my footprints, and it's a reminder of it. Since it showed me I couldn't really depend on my family. Am I the idiot for still resenting this? Not like it's a constant resentment, but I still kinda have mixed feelings. Not the idiot. If she feels so terribly guilty, has she ever offered a basic apology even all those years ago when it first happened? Or since she realized that you had been let down? Projecting guilt onto your child for any reason is idiotic, cut and dry, but this is a little extra dose of wrong considering how thoroughly you were failed by the people you depended on. Shame your siblings are enabling that behavior. Don't apologize if you don't want to, she isn't entitled to one. You're the idiot. It was a mistake, and she apologized for jumping to conclusions. For Christ's sake, the accident wasn't her fault, ergo how you now walk has zero to do with her, but instead of being upset at the driver who hit you, you're upset at your mom for a misunderstanding. It's been 10 years, unless your family makes a habit of failing you, rather than this being an isolated incident, let it go. Get some professional help if needed.